So we talked about this at lunch. This
Well,
next
do you
part,
mind sharing your lunch conversation with all of us?
This is going to be a really cheesy part of the podcast, but there's that and I didn't think about it at the time. This is just a current revelation. There's the Garth Brooks song that says, thank you God for unanswered prayers.
Yes.
Right. Mm-hmm. And we've all experienced that in our life. Like, oh man, I'm so glad I'm not with that girl because that didn't work out.
Yeah.
That would, right? Like,
hold on 1 second.
Right. This is sponsored by.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole time when I was in my 20s and I just wanted to be a rock and roll star. And I just thought that's really, let me go back. I really just wanted to be a songwriter, honestly. I always wanted to write songs. That's what I think I was put on this world to do. Mm-hmm. I just happened to be in my 20s and good live and was comfortable live.
Right.
So I didn't stare at my shoes. I mean, and Jody was really good with engaging with the audiences, and we were a fun band to see live. But really, songwriting is all that I really wanted to do. Mm-hmm. It just that rush of being on stage and being 20s and smoking cigarettes and playing some dive bar and whatever you're doing at that time in your life was also really fun and attractive. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to do that, but I'm so thankful now because I have always had a job, but we've always put records out.
So we're not to say that's what I mean. We're not one recently,
right?
So.
Yeah, we put one out in January.
Yeah.
So the last 10 years we haven't been playing live as much, but we've put out 4 albums. One of them being a double album.
Yeah.
Well, so we're really busy creatively, but if you look at the local listings of who's playing in your local town, like you're not going to see our name very often, right?
Right.
But we have our own studio, so we play a couple times a month. We take the summers off usually, but in the wintertime, we're playing every week.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing because when you start talking, and we've talked to a lot of musicians. We've been really blessed to have a bunch here on the podcast, and
some really good ones.
And some really good ones, and it's so interesting. And for a lot of them, music is their thing.
Yeah.
And it's almost like that's their only
all or
thing,
nothing.
and it's all or nothing, and they just jump in. And so to hear this story, it's very fascinating that you've got this story of, I love songwriting. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to play, like every 20-year-old with any musical talent, you want to be a rock and roll star. Sure. Yet somehow you end up, and you have this environmental management degree and Peace Corp background. And then somehow you end up being the CEO of a major medical corporation. Like, how in the world did that shift happen? Like, did you just wake up one day and say, I'm just going to try this out?
Well, baby, you've been on my mind. I think about you all the time. Oh, I want to see your face. I don't make me wait.
These are super sensitive. You could
And even when I go to
two fingers away.
Oh, yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Very happy.
He's used to. Never mind.
Yeah. No, I'm used to condenser microphones.
Oh, this guy.
So
he's actually recorded in close.
Oh, cool.
yeah, our last record was done
Can
there.
I talk about Crossing and Ragweed and first time I saw you? Because you're playing keys with them.
Yeah, when was that?
New Year's Eve, Dallas. How long ago was that?
I wasn't on that. No, I only played with
Then where did I see?
Ragweed towards the end of we might have opened or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't remember that. I don't think I played with them in Dallas, like Shreveport. Or
Are you excited about the whole Turnpike reunion?
yeah, man, I just saw that.
I'm trying to get fucking tickets to Red Rock. They go on sale
really?
Friday. It's gonna be fucking crazy. They're gonna sell out like
Oh yeah.
Turnpike Troubadour. They're back together.
Yeah.
Their big show is
That'd be
Red
good.
Rock. Whiskey Myers opening that.
And they kept that thing pretty hush hush because I literally had beers with
I thought he was coming to Key West. We thought for sure we were going to make the announcement. They were going to be the headline.
right.
Turnpike.
Yeah. That would have been.
So are they going to come to Key West?
Fuck no.
Why not?
Their first big one is going to be
Red
Rock.
Rock's win.
So I don't need to start with this, do I?
No. I got the dates right here, Bubba.
Did you get a new mic?
That's my mic.
Yeah.
Rip it out.
Yeah. I like that.
Right here. It is
Yeah.
May 14th. You want to go?
It's not till May 14th?
Yeah, dude.
Oh.
Red Rocks. But think about
Oh, the tickets going to sell December 3rd.
Yeah,
That's-
dude. It's crazy. Look at this lineup, dude.
Shoveling Ropes and Reckless Kelly. You know why Reckless is on there?
I can assume.
Because their guitar player, whenever he left, Troubadours, whenever Troubadours broke up,
2022.
he
I'm
got
in
a gig
Orlando.
playing guitar with Reckless.
Oh shit.
So he's been with Reckless for the last 3 years since they've been on hiatus.
Damn.
So I'm sure he'll play with Reckless and then also play
turn
with,
around. Yeah, because I saw the photo shoot. You see them all together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fucking crazy.
Let's do
Let's
it.
rock and
Yeah,
roll.
we're back. We're back.
We are back. It's been a hot minute. First of all, we need to introduce our guest.
Yeah. Got a great guest today.
This is Philip Zellner. He is a CEO of many things. He's a musician. He's a friend. He's an Oklahoma guy, hence the reason I'm wearing the hat.
Yeah.
And we're just excited to have you. So thank you for being here, Philip.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. All the
today-
way from Tulsa.
That's
Is that
right.
That's why I've got my FC Tulsa
FC Tulsa.
Oh,
jersey
okay.
on.
Now is FC Tulsa? I know we'll get to that in a minute. Is FC Tulsa in the same league as FC Austin?
No, FC Austin's in MLS, which is the top tier for American football.
Yeah.
But
Which is like way better than Tulsa, right?
well, the city or the football club?
Well, the football club. What I
Well, they
meant
don't
was
play each other, so I don't really know.
And listen, you're talking to
Yeah,
somebody who
like,
knows his.
They're in different
yeah.
leagues.
He
See, I
knows
have
his-
no fucking idea. I just know we have a team now,
Hey,
Yeah.
and we're pumped about it.
No,
well,
yeah,
you're even
it's
wearing the
exciting.
colors.
Actually,
It's
exciting.
Yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I wear the color.
I know, because he's
You need
wearing
to
lucky American football shirt. So that's really good. So Brandon is actually going to talk about our alcohol today
Tonight,
because I've never had this
Yeah,
before.
I requested. I like IPAs. You
Okay.
know, I like IPAs.
Yes, you do.
And this is one of my favorites. It's local here in Austin. Well, not in Austin. It's in Blanco, Texas. Real Ale Brewing Company, and it is the Axis IPA. So
all right.
it's
Well,
a
let's
nice
all crack
IPA.
one
Crack one open.
and we'll begin the show like we always do. I should have shook yours up.
Nice.
I should have shook yours up.
Man, I know I got to
Philip?
switch them now.
Cheers.
Thank you
Cheers.
for sleeping around with Dr. Brandon and Matthew. Let's have
Yeah.
some fun.
All right.
I got to be real honest with you guys. When I pictured my first three-way, it didn't include two men. I don't
Really?
Yeah. I mean,
Well,
Well, we could go into detail there, but that's
well,
good.
I mean,
because let's not talk about our first three ways today.
Okay.
Well, maybe that's maybe a whole nother podcast episode.
no, I said when I envisioned, in my mind. It did,
Yeah,
But
But
this,
anyway,
this is a married man. He's not like me and you,
that's true. That's true.
you know.
We don't do
He's
that.
yeah. By the way, your beard looks really good.
Thank you, man.
I mean, it really fills out.
It does. It just takes a couple weeks.
So when you use just for men, like do you
I do
Is
the
it
brush. I do the brushing. Yeah.
is it
salt
the
and
brushing?
pepper. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks great,
Yeah.
man.
You know, I don't know if I told you this story ever, but when I got my Avant, the first time I got my Avant, I put it in and I was so pumped about it because I was one of the first in the country to get to wear the Avant.
And for you viewers out there, the Avant is the product that I rep for Somnament.
Yes, it's my sleep appliance. And so put it in. I'm all pumped. Lewis is there. He brings it to me. Put it in. And I'm like, oh, I got to take a picture. So I take a selfie and Lewis has it. And I send it to my assistant. And I send it to her and I'm all pumped. I'm smiling with my mouthpiece in. And I'm like, hey, what do you think? And a text message. And she responds, your beard's getting really gray. I was like, about my appliance.
No, I was talking about the plant.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
enough about your handsome
Yeah.
beard,
Yeah.
by the way.
So Tulsa, Oklahoma. You from Tulsa, born
Yes.
and raised?
Yes.
And but you haven't spent your whole life there. You've been around.
Right. So yeah, I lived obviously at college at Northeastern State in Tahlequah after I
Okay.
graduated from Jinx High School in 1993.
Jinx.
Jinx, and then
They're the big football powerhouse,
yeah,
right?
that's the one that they throw.
Oh, here we go.
the American football.
We're going to
powerhouse.
talk about
Yeah.
his passion.
Yeah. What's their mascot? Jinx, Oklahoma.
It's a Trojan.
The Trojan, yeah,
that
okay.
of course never came up in jokes in
Yeah,
high school.
never.
Right.
Never. Ever.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
nobody never made fun
Okay.
of it.
Well, you guys were really good. I also grew up in
No, it
Oklahoma,
was
so-
great. No, it was a lot of fun and great athletes. It's a lot of fun to watch. But after that, Northeastern State University in Tahlequah, and graduated there in '97. Was Lambda Chi Alpha there for any of the Lambda Chi's out there. And then after that, went into the Peace Corps in Central America, and lived in Central America, and then came back, went to New York for a little while, but mostly Tulsa.
How long in Central America? That's a pretty cool experience. I mean, not
98,
everybody does.
99. Yeah.
And what drove you to do the Peace Corps?
That's a good question. So it was one of those cheesy commercials that we saw when we were kids
Right.
that showed the poor black kids in Africa, and it showed like a white lady helping them, and it was like I remember saying the toughest job you'll ever love, and that was such a new. I mean, growing up in very lower middle class, both working parents and with big family.
Yeah.
We didn't have a lot,
Right.
but I just always thought that attitude of servanthood was always something that fascinated me.
Yeah.
So my degree is in environmental management, and then I served in the Peace Corp and did environmental education.
Yeah, I love that. Where'd you get to go?
So I always say Central America, because when I say Belize, people think like, oh yeah, I went there,
Vacation,
skite
Sweet.
sailing or something, and we took our catamaran there. It's like, well, that's not where I was. So I was inland in a city called Orange Walk, which is about 40 or 50 kilometers south of the Mexican border on the Yucatan Peninsula.
Okay.
And so how I became familiar with Philip, believe it or not, like I've said, many podcasts, I just happen to know a lot of musicians, and we share a mutual friend, Casey. And I was just shocked because back when I knew of Philip, he was a singer, songwriter, played a little bit with Cross Canadian Ragweed. And just recently we got reacquainted in kind of the sleep world that we'll definitely jump into a little later. But you also have a music background, brother. And if people were to Google you or go to your social media, you got quite a collection.
Yeah. We've put out.
And I loved how humble you were about naming the band. What's the name of your band?
Philip Zoellner Band.
That's a great name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a rock and roll name.
It is.
I mean, when you hear Philip and Zoellner together, I mean, nothing.
It almost sounds like one of those cheesy 80s groups. Philip and Zellner?
Right.
You hear about them?
Right.
They're great.
Yeah, I sound like an acoustic duo or like a
with long hair,
jazz saxophone player.
Yeah.
In the Philip Zoellner Band, I was one of the band, and most of the guys were in my last band. It's just there's a different dynamic whenever you go from a band that's just a name. Like my first band was named as Marshall City, and it was like very much a democracy, and it was 5 of us, and we all had, even though I was the leader, it was like one guy was doing this, and this guy was doing this. The problem with that is, and when you're not making a lot of money and you're doing this democracy, you guys know this because you guys are business people yourself. You're married to 4 different people. When it became the Philip Zoellner Band, even though some of those guys came with me, it was a completely different shift of stress and responsibility because it's my band.
Yeah.
So if you can't make it on drums, and maybe I'll call the next guy to come play drums. So it's less stress. It's a less stressful. And honestly, I don't have an ego. The guys know that. Well, let's put it this way. I've learned to deal with whatever ego I have. Maybe that's better. I've matured, and I'm very fortunate to play with incredibly talented musicians that support my creativity. So. So anyway, but having the PZB, as we call it, it's just a different dynamic. So
did this love for music, has it been a lifelong love of music? Is this a family thing? Was this growing up? You were already singing in high school, or did this come after Peace Corp, or how did this begin?
So my beautiful mom is a classically trained pianist, and I remember begging her to play Mozart and Chopin as her favorite composer. And I remember as a kid growing up, my dad, on the other hand, was 20 years older than my mom. So my dad was born in 1921. So he was 52 when I was born. Wow. So my dad was a Bob Wills fan and grew up like he was a Marine Corps fighter pilot during World War II. Wow. And also served in the Korean campaign as a Semper Fi Marine. Yeah. Love you, Dad. Miss you. He died at 89. From skin cancer from being in South Pacific. Guy smoked for 60 years and still was doing push-ups on the side of the pool until like
Marines.
2 years.
I'm telling you,
Marines.
My grandfather was Marine, and we talked about him before, and
it's a different breed, man.
Just a different breed.
Well, yeah, he might have been about the same age as my dad.
Probably was. So my granddad, he died. He was 63 when he died. And that was in like 2000, but he was a little younger probably than your dad, but because he was born in probably the late 20s or 30s, but he was, same kind of
grit,
right? Exactly.
Yeah. So my dad loved that sort of music. So you take like my mom's affection for classical music and Elvis Presley, and you kind of put that with my dad's love for Bob Wills and Old Western Swing, because that's what his music he grew up on. Well, you combine that and you've got this incredibly great Americana with a rock and roll kind of shake to it. So we started doing that music in the late 90s. And speaking of Cross County Ragweed, I remember going to see them play at Blue Rose Cafe in Tulsa on Brookside. I think they played Tuesdays there. And I'd heard about this band. I just got back from the Peace Corps and heard about this band. The whole time I was serving overseas, I kept emailing my friend. I'm like, we got to get together and play music. And he's my best friend to this day. He's still in my band. 23 years later, Jody Parsons, he plays bass and sings with me. And he's my musical partner. Because he tells me when it sucks. Yeah. And then he doesn't say anything when it's good. Yeah. It's like the perfect marriage, right? Yeah. Anyway, so yeah. So
I like to be complimented.
Yeah. Yes, you do.
Well, if you're waiting for a comment from Jody, like
if it's good.
At 23 years, I'll let you know when it comes. Yeah. So the whole time I was serving the Peace Corps, I wanted to do music, and I'm emailing Jody about it. So as soon as we get back, we just get back to work.
Wait a second. You were emailing him?
Emailing. In
the Peace Corps,
I was emailing back
from
stateside.
Belize, in the
from
high
Orange
rise.
Rock. In the high rise condominium. Yeah, that's what it was.
And I joke about this. No, thank you for that. I think it's so interesting. I have a 16-year-old daughter, soon to be 17, and when we were growing up, it's like I had a plan. I'm going to graduate high school. I'm going to go to college. I'm going to do this. And now I just think, besides military, service is so important. In the counseling background that I have in many areas I've worked, many of my friends were in Peace Corps for years and years and years. So I don't want to make light of it, man. I think that's awesome.
Yeah, it was
you did that.
It was incredible. My wife and I both served together. It was an educator, and I was environmental. So Belize was great. My wife worked with a grant from the World Bank to educate teachers. The normal teacher there had about an 8th grade education. So she was there with an education degree, also from Northeastern, was able to help educate the educators. So that was really neat.
Now you guys were at a fun time at Tahlequah. Brandon, it's in Northeast Oklahoma. It's a fun place. A lot of people know that there's some music from around there. A girl by the name of Carrie Underwood is kind of from that area. But
Turnpike Troubadours.
I was getting ready to say that. So Turnpike Troubadours. Yeah. But that whole area was so fun. And am I getting the name right? Is it Tunkeys? Tusky? What was the bar that's kind of famous there in Tahlequah?
I would have no idea where the bar would be. I can draw you directions to First Baptist.
I know what you're doing there. I wish I could think of the name of it.
Plus, I was too young to do that anyway.
Okay. Would you help me out? What was the name of it? Tunkskis.
Honestly, I went there for my 21st birthday, and I think that was the only time I ever went there.
Okay.
I mean, I grew up one of 7. So I moved into college in a laundry basket. So going out to me was getting beer and sitting on Jody's front porch, and we had a competition on how cheap of a 6-pack we could buy at Dano's.
Okay. Well, I know it wasn't Dano's. Anyway,
no, Dano's was a convenience store.
I know. So there's a great club there, because I also had friends that around the same age. Kyle went there, Greg went there, Joey went there. Joey ended up playing soccer there. Joey Hinkle, and ended up getting his number, retired, All-American. But we would go up there, and I was like, what the heck, man? This is like another Stillwater, right? Another, just a fun little town. But there was so much music going on there.
Right, yeah.
And this was from between 92 and 96.
Yeah, I was there in 93, 97.
I couldn't believe just the music scene up there. It was crazy. Did you play into that? I mean, I know we were joking around.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. Jody and I started playing just as an acoustic duo in college.
Okay.
And I bought a Fostex 4-track recorder that used a cassette tape. So if you remember the cassette tapes, you could get a special one. It was like a more expensive cassette tape that was a certain caliber or something. And the Fostex actually took a cassette tape.
Right, hold on one second. So, Handsome Dan, cassette tapes are...
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
You're going to have to describe it.
I think I might have actually ruined my mom's cassette player. I think, or maybe it was my brother put raisins in it or something like that.
I forgot we had it.
How would you put? Oh, in the player.
In the player.
Oh, yeah.
All right. I apologize. We have to explain.
Oh, well, just send him a text on it.
Okay. So y'all did do some gigs.
Yeah, we did. So we started doing just acoustic stuff, and you said it was like a Stillwater. I could Stillwater, Oklahoma. Yeah. I could certainly see aspects of that. But when you go further east and you get into Arkansas, those are really rolling hills right there.
I agree.
Tahlequah.
Yeah.
And when you go into Hot Springs or you go into Eureka Springs, it almost feels a little bit, it's a little bit more of that Ozark feel to it. Would you agree? Like just a little bit more tie-dye, and
yeah,
at least it was in the 90s when
no,
I was
no,
there.
I agree. I can make a joke and act like I'm playing a banjo,
Right.
you know, ding, 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 ding.
Yeah.
But no, it's beautiful up there. I love that whole area.
Right.
But I agree with you. It has just a different feel.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And even from the, like I went to school at Texarkana for a while, right? So that was on the border. That Arkansas has a whole different feel than up there. So you're right. I think you were going with hippie-ish. You said some tie-dye.
Yeah, just kind of like, it just had a little, I mean, I remember when Jerry Garcia died.
Yeah.
In college,
Well,
we hung a tie-dye shirt
How
out of the
far?
house.
How far is that from like Fayetteville?
It's not far. Hour
I mean,
and 15.
it's
hour
really
and a
pretty
half.
close, right?
And
like,
it's like an hour and a half from Tulsa, an hour and a half to
like southeast of Tulsa, a little bit.
yes,
Or straight east of
yes,
Tulsa,
yeah.
kind of a
Yep.
little bit southeast.
Yep, southeast.
And then you go east from there and you hit Fayetteville.
Yeah, right.
So I was at George's Majestic in Fayetteville. You been there? George's
I
Majestic
played.
Lounge,
Last time I was there, I was playing keys with ragweed.
Yeah, yeah. So I was there one time. I think I was seeing. You mentioned the hippie feeling or whatever, and you know, I looked next to me. I think I was seeing JJ Gray was there, and kind of hanging out, having a good time. Look next to me. The guy next to me is wearing this tie-dye shirt, and I look down. He's got no shoes on. He's just barefoot at the bar watching the show.
Yeah. Kind of like you are in podcasts.
You know,
just
that's
find yourself
thank
comfortable.
You. Appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, you know,
That's
I will.
good.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey.
And a cursing shirt. You know, who needs a tie-dye? So you have been playing music this whole time.
Right.
You go and you have this calling, which I think's awesome. You come back, and I know a little bit about you, right? Did you go into a straight job? Did you decide, hey, when I come back, we're going to do this music thing? How did that kind of come about, Philip? Like, how did that?
So, we talked about this at lunch. It sounds. This
Well, do you mind sharing your lunch conversation with all of us?
This is going to be a really cheesy part of the podcast, but there's that and I didn't think about it at the time. This is just a current revelation. There's the Garth Brooks song that says, you know, thank you God for unanswered prayers.
Yes.
Right. And we've all experienced that in our life. Like, oh man, I'm so glad I'm not with that girl because that didn't work out.
Yeah.
That wouldn't, right? Like,
hold on 1 second.
Right. This is sponsored by.
Yeah.
But I mean, the whole time I was in my 20s and I just wanted to be a rock and roll star. And I just thought that's really, let me go back. I really just wanted to be a songwriter, honestly. I always wanted to write songs. That's what I think I was put on this world to do. I just happened to be in my 20s and good live and was comfortable live.
Right.
So I didn't stare at my shoes. I mean, you know, and Jody was really good with engaging with the audiences, and we were a fun band to see live. But really, songwriting is all that I really wanted to do. It just, that rush of being on stage and being 20s and smoking cigarettes and playing some dive bar and whatever you're doing at that time in your life was also really fun and attractive. So, you know, I wanted to do that, but I'm so thankful now because I have always had a job, but we've always put records out.
So we're not to say that's what I mean. We're not one recently,
right?
So.
Yeah, we put one out in January.
Yeah.
So the last 10 years we haven't been playing live as much, but we've put out 4 albums. One of them being a double album.
Yeah. Well,
so we're really busy creatively, but if you look at the local listings of who's playing in your local town, like you're not going to see our name very often, right?
Right.
But we have our own studio, so we play a couple times a month. We take the summers off usually, but in the wintertime, we're playing every week.
Yeah. Well, it's amazing because when you start talking, and we've talked to a lot of musicians. We've been really blessed to have a bunch here on the podcast, and
some really good ones.
And some really good ones. And it's so interesting. And for a lot of them, you know, music is their thing.
Yeah.
And it's almost like that's their only
all or
thing.
nothing.
And it's all or nothing. And they just jump in. And so to hear this story, it's very fascinating that you've got this story of, I love songwriting. I wanted to be a musician. I wanted to play, you know, like every 20-year-old with any musical talent, you want to be a rock and roll star. Sure. Yet somehow you end up, and you have this environmental management degree and Peace Corp background. And then somehow you end up being the CEO of a major medical corporation. Like, how in the world did that shift happen? Like, did you just wake up one day and say, I'm just going to try this out?
I don't know if there was a shift. I feel like it was always very, very natural to me. Really? When I was a kid, I mentioned my mother, and I remember her telling me about getting trained in classical piano, and I remember sitting at the at the stool on the bench of the piano. My feet could dangle off, and I just start playing the piano. It wasn't anything pretty. It wasn't like I was playing Chopin. But I'm like, Mom, this isn't hard at all. You just take your hands and like, this is actually quite easy, right? Like, it was just, that's the way I approached it. And it always, this also sounds corny. I've always felt like a Renaissance sort of person because I love sports. I love watching, I love watching European football. And
I thought you said you love sports. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Oh, no. Yeah.
Too soon?
Right. Yeah.
We're friends.
Right. Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Right.
Just go ahead.
Athletes.
I've hung out with you at one of these said bars, which I'll tell the story. It's pretty good. Right. But go ahead.
So I love and I respect that. I love that. I love music. I speak Spanish.
Yeah. Fluently.
I'm probably also dyslexic, and you don't want me to ever work on a spreadsheet for you or any of that, but I love leading people. I love being generous. God's blessed me incredibly, and it's just, I talked about this, I think today too. You can't outgive God, right? Given it shall be given. Right. So I love the fact that the more I get blessed, the more my wife and I are able to give away. So it's really special.
Well, it's interesting too. And sometimes we talk about different books that we read and leadership styles and stuff like this. One of the most impactful, I mean, not one of the most impactful, but a very impactful workshop that I did was with Bob Berg, who wrote the book, The Go-Giver, I believe. And the I
love that title.
Do what?
I love that title. I'm sorry.
Have you read the book?
No.
So the whole, and I think even like when you go back to like some of these like entrepreneur startup books like Simon Sinek and stuff like that, they talk about like making meaning more than making money. And that truly, if you are in service to people, that those will be the successful businesses because of the service that you're giving. And the more that you give, the more success and the more that you'll get in return from giving. And so I think it's interesting that you ended up in this field. And I really want to know more about the sleep business and how you got into the sleep world, because that's the world we live in.
Right.
Because I think that's where we talk about service and we talk about giving and how you can help and impact other people's lives. Your sleep businesses obviously are having a huge impact on people's lives.
Absolutely.
So how'd you get into the sleep business and how did that transpire? And tell us a little bit about your sleep business. Or I guess you got a couple businesses.
Oh yeah.
So, well, I think within this sort of the same in line with the organicness of what I love about how I was raised and how I became to be this person that I am and still trying to be this person that I should be. Right.
Yeah.
But, because I was comfortable with people and I love talking about stuff I believe in. So, I believe in music. We can talk about it all day long. I believe in a great beer. I believe in great friends, and I love Rottweilers.
I believe children are our future.
Right, right. I see. That's where we should have a piano here, and we could just go into that. But I believe in. I love believing in things, or I love supporting stuff I believe in.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I learned about apnea, my brother Robert, who's an optometrist by trade, but has multiple businesses, started a sleep diagnostic center. And with a few other investors, because he's an optometrist and he's got the Midas touch. So a lot of the doctors that work for him have said, hey, can we buy into these businesses? So because he's a generous person, he said, no, but we'll start a business together and you can buy into that. Right. So they said, that's great. And it's like in the Bible, it's like whenever they ask, they're hungry and they want Christ to feed them. And he's like, well, I can give you fish or I can teach you how to fish. Right. Mm-hmm. So it's a little different thing. So because my brother, because he's such a great mentor, he said, you can't buy into what I've already got, but let's start something together. And you can see that happen. So after a couple of years into Dr. Z's Sleep Center, he asked me to come run it. I didn't even know what sleep apnea was.
Yeah.
I'm 47 now. I was 30 years old at the time.
I was going to ask, okay, so about
17 years. It was actually December of 2004 when we formed the LLC.
Nice.
Okay, wow.
So literally it's coming up, I think it was like December 4th. So next week is like 17 years.
So this is like a traditional sleep lab.
So it's an IDTF, independent diagnostic testing facility.
Okay.
So we were standalone sleep lab. And we made every mistake you could possibly make.
Now, why sleep? I mean, when he was looking at business opportunities, did he know did he have a personal experience? Was there a doctor he knew that was a sleep doctor? Was it, I mean, or was he just looking at
business opportunity
and said, I think sleep's where we need to be?
So good question. My brother does tremendous amount, spends $1 million a year on radio advertising. So when you spend that much money,
that's a big radio budget.
Yeah. So when you spend that much money on radio, everyone knows your name, for sure. And you get a lot of perks, and you get a lot of radio people that give you attention. So there's a gentleman named Mike Ring that was his radio salesperson that helped connect him to all sorts of people. And he somehow got in the sleep business in Dallas.
Okay.
And then conned Robert into Shark Tanked him into starting business.
Sorry about that.
Note to self: increase radio budget.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. So as I said, million. I think that number sounds too high. So I'll confirm it. I'll send you a text on exactly.
Tulsa radio, we know it's booming.
Well, more people know his name than the mayor of Tulsa. Literally, you can go anywhere you go in Tulsa. I don't care if you're.
I agree with you there. I think even your last name, although it's unique, people know the Zellner family.
Right.
So
if you say Zellner in Tulsa, you'll know somebody knows one of my brothers, or they've heard of us, or they're a patient of one of my
Right. So you get involved 17 years ago.
17 years asked me to run it. I had no idea what I was doing. And like I said, we made a lot of mistakes, but we kept growing.
Mm-hmm.
And we were competing against big hospital systems.
Right.
Well, customer service wise, small businesses, I mean, we all know this, right? Is the guy that owns the shop down the street is going to do everything he can to take care of you.
Yeah.
Maybe the bigger box stores, no disrespect to the other ones, but the chains or whatever, they're hourly employees, right?
Yep.
So having that locally owned sleep lab that I was going in calling on people, and it was really kind of cool because, and you probably feel this way in your world, there's not a whole lot of people out there selling sleep.
Yeah.
I mean, we're pushing drugs left and right. But
especially back then.
Yeah. And
so
even still now.
I agree.
At least back then there was like 2 or 3 reps that I was in competition with, Sleep Solutions or whatever whatever was at the time.
Right.
But I mean, now it's like I'm the only one. So it's like me, or they just call the big hospital system and they get a call center.
Mm-hmm.
So we've been really successful in just having that local approach.
Now, did you guys jump into home testing? Did you adapt that pretty early on?
I don't remember home testing 17 years ago.
Yeah.
Well, meaning recently.
As home testing. So, I would say
the pivot.
Somewhere 2010, 2012.
Well, we had the startup with Phillips. We had the Stardust out that early, but when it became a thing, like it was everywhere, 2015, 2016. And independent standing labs, man, I was like, there's no way that the home sleep test is going to take off like this. Mm-hmm. And it just took over.
See, I don't have that experience.
That's cool.
So you don't think that the home testing affected, I mean, in terms of your business with the sleep lab, it didn't affect overall?
Honestly, I don't.
Okay.
And I'll tell you the reason why. Sleep is so underdiagnosed.
I agree with that.
So the reality is that you're a provider, mm-hmm. so people are seeking your referrals, and if it's a disorder that you're not typically referring for, you might go, "Oh, well, I'm glad, Philip. I'm glad you stopped by. That was great learning about your ex." Well, the next weekend you got a lunch for somebody else talking about the same disorder, but he's selling you a different aspect. It's on your radar even more. Mm-hmm. My point is that when all the SNAP reps and the fly-by-night sort of things would come into town and do the home sleep testing, what it was doing, it was drawing the attention of the doctor. And if you look very hard, if you look, you don't have to look very hard. If you look at all for sleep apnea, I'm not a physician. I have a bachelor's degree and that's it.
Yep.
Never written a referral for a sleep study. And I can look at somebody across the aisle at church and go, man, you should probably have a sleep study, right? I mean, and I'm not. So my point is if the doctors are looking for it, you're going to see it more. We're all going to benefit from it.
But that you still, go ahead.
But still to this day, we're 90% in lab.
I know.
Yeah.
I mean, I've obviously have a relationship with you. I've been up to Tulsa, spent time up in Tulsa. You are a very unique, and I mean that in a positive way. And we'll get to the relationships that you also have, but with the hospitals and with all that. And I think it's because your consistency Think about how many years you just said you've been doing this.
Well, you've got to say, I mean, you have to have seen sleep labs around you shutting down.
Absolutely.
So we had this,
All of them.
almost
Honestly,
all of them.
Except in hospital.
So that's the question is like, how do you continue to succeed? How do you and your lab continue to succeed when insurance companies are slashing reimbursements? I mean, in 2004, it was a shit ton of money insurance companies were paying for I mean, it was $4,000 a night or something like that. Sure. What's your reimbursement now?
Oh, I mean, it's, if you're lucky, if you're really, really lucky, 1,100, 900, but probably about 500.
Yeah. I mean, that's incredible. That amount of slashing, the push towards home testing. I know now, at least half of the insurance companies won't cover an in-lab if they haven't had a home test first. I mean, we just see that left and right. So granted, we're seeing an increased awareness, but every other competitor that you have has had to shut down because they haven't been able to make it. And we're not even getting into COVID or
we're going to talk about current policies. Talk about the recall too.
And the recall.
This is great.
Yeah. What do you think has separated you and your business to allow you guys to keep functioning?
Education. I mean, it just constantly and I say that I'm in sales. I'm really not in sales.
Yeah, you are. So I'm going to give you a compliment. One of the reasons this guy grinds, just like you, you wouldn't think he runs, meaning no.
Is this different? Is this the verb of grinder?
Is this,
because I don't know if I don't know. Again, I'll have to address the millennial.
Yeah. Dan knows grinder. I think.
You have
I know nothing.
Dan, you have grinder followers, don't you?
If you know what I mean? Is that right?
Do you bump first before you grind?
I don't know. It depends on if you're going to a club or not.
Oh, okay. So my point, and I apologize again. My terminology.
I thought it was a verb.
This guy goes to work every day.
Is it a verb or a pronoun?
That's right.
And he literally still makes calls. We've made calls together, and it's just I could see your tenacity, fortitude, big words for Dan.
How many doctors would you say? How big's the lab?
So right now we're running all of our patients through the flagship Ardent Hospital in Tulsa called Tulsa Spine and Specialty Hospital. Mm-hmm. They are a 51% owned by a large hospital organization, Ardent, which is incredible. And they're also 49% owned by doctors. Okay. And not just physicians, but they're good doctors that like to take care of patients, but also like making money, which is it's making money is not a bad thing, people. We can take care of people when we make more money. Yeah. So it's a great mindset.
This is turning into a capitalism conversation.
No, my God, yes. All right, mask or no masks. Let's just get this thing going. Abortion, go. So I
pronouns, masks, abortion, and capitalism.
Great. They're great to work with, and they're so over the top great that educating doctors. Like, do you guys realize Tulsa Spine and Specialty Hospital has a sleep lab? Oh, they do? That's a nice hospital. Yeah, and I run it. Yeah. So you can text me, and I can fix any problem that you have. I recently, about 3 months, I got a complaint from one of Dr. Langley's patients. Mm-hmm. You met Jean Maria, an ENT that does Inspire in Tulsa. Mm-hmm. And she had a couple of complaints just back to back about Tulsa Spine. So I summoned my team, and I gave them my business cards. You have one, you've got one, and it has my cell phone on it and my email address. And I instructed my staff, I said, every patient that comes in for a sleep study, you hand them my card. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so I had a meeting yesterday morning with my head tech. And I said, you need more cards? You're handing out my card? Yes, every morning. Every morning when the patients wake up, they give them their paperwork and my card. And I said, it's for two reasons. Number one, it helps keep my staff accountable, right? If you walked in and the first thing you did was hand me your boss's cell phone number, mm-hmm. that changes things, right? Because now I have immediate access to, if you are great or you're not good, or if I have something to say, I've got access to your boss. Yeah. If there's a complaint, right? You come in, right? Because I want to hear about them way before the hospital hears about them or before the doctors hear about them. Yeah. So, I mean, if I had a tech that didn't put on deodorant, not that I'm just giving you an example. Like, I want to take care of that problem. Yeah. Right.
Well, we are in Austin, and so the truth is, Matt McConaughey doesn't wear deodorant.
Yes, I've heard that.
And he's also an owner of the soccer team. See how I do that?
Yeah.
Dan? See how that comes around?
FC.
But I do think it is interesting because I have gotten to work with you. But Brennan's making a valid point. I've been in sleep for a while, and seeing that the labs are shutting down. Mom and pops, hospitals are even half of what they used to be.
Sure.
Almost everything is HST, home sleep testing. Also with COVID, but you've survived all of this. And most recently, in the last 8 months, Philip's recall, which that's how we got in touch, where you were almost 100% Phillips. Is that fair to say?
That's absolutely fair to say.
Okay.
And now that's the DME portion of your business.
Correct. Yeah,
So
that's correct.
when did you jump into the CPAP side of the business?
Well,
so you had the testing.
No, thank you.
Yeah.
So we had Dr. C Sleep Center, independent diagnostic testing facility, and we had just great customer service. Like I said, if there was a problem, they could call me. I also did something where someone called up and they said, I've been married for 45 years. I've never spent a night away from my wife. Can she come with me? And one of my staff, I heard him say, "Oh, I'm sorry, you can't." I said, "Well, no, absolutely."
Yeah.
I had another lady that said, "I've never slept without my Pomeranian. Bring the damn dog. Let's go."
Yeah.
Nice. I had another guy tell me, "I drink a bottle of wine with my wife every night before I go to bed." It says what we always do. We've done it for 30 years. I go, "Bring your wife and bring an extra bottle for me.
Yeah.
Let's go."
Yeah.
So I didn't tell people. The answer is yes.
Wait a second. You said you've never had a threesome.
And
I'm sorry. Again.
Did we cut that part out? So the answer was always yes.
Well, yeah, I was wondering about the anal beads.
Right.
You know, whether or not that.
We'll definitely cut that out.
Whether that was allowed in the sleep center or not.
No, so I always tell people yes. And when you tell people yes, then people keep calling you.
Yeah.
And that's one way I think we've survived.
Well, so it sounds to me like you do have that niche. You have the niche of the dog sleeping, husband, wife sleeping, wine drinking.
Right. Let's do it.
I love that.
Yeah.
So
that's cool.
Which is amazing. And I mean, congrats to you. But how do you also take that and grow? I mean, how do you scale that? Like from a CEO standpoint, a business standpoint, I'm imagining you're looking for growth always as a business owner.
Right.
So how do you scale that, but maintain that? How big can you get before everybody can't have your card? Or how do you maintain that from a leadership standpoint?
So I just gave you an example of, I've said that for the last 3 months, I can't remember the exact time that they've been getting my card. Okay.
Yeah.
I just gave you that story. And now I want to ask you a question. How many times has a patient contacted me?
Probably
in 3 months.
I would say zero.
Yeah. Not one time.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's because I've got the best staff in the world.
Yeah.
And I've got great leadership in place.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how I'm able to grow there are certain things that I'm good at, and I'm okay telling you the things I'm good at, but I will talk way more and I'll talk way longer about the things I'm not good at.
Yeah.
And I understand that. And I don't have an ego when it comes to that. I'm not going to pretend to you that I can give you stock market advice, right? But I can definitely tell you what guitar to play and what football club to watch. I know what I'm good at, right? But scaling, you cannot, if you are so controlling in your business, for all you small business people out there and whatever, if you want to get a lawnmower and push it, you're never ever going to grow if you're going to be the one pushing the lawnmower. Okay. If you want to make money, you got to teach other people how to push the lawnmower, how quickly they can push it, and how by pushing it harder and faster, they can also benefit from it. So that's what we do. Is I got to brag about Katie. Can I just have a second brag about Katie? Sure. She's an employee of mine. She's been with me 5 or 6 years now. She came to work for me as a graduate of Women in Recovery, which is a program that takes women that have been arrested and they're looking at jail sentences for nonviolent crimes. Women in Recovery, wonderful program in Tulsa, and the Lindsay House as well. We sponsor and we promote them. Our last CD release show, we raised money for the Cindy Lands. Yeah. So Marianne and I, my sister, who 20 years at the Today Show, best-selling Time, best selling author, New York Times. Is that right, list? Whatever.
Or New York Times bestseller.
Yeah. Thank you. She's a most incredible woman, wonderful, married with 2 beautiful kids. And she and I were giving this, we were receiving this presentation from Women in Recovery. And I thought it was like a thing that there was going to be 40 people there. No, that was just she and I.
Wow.
And they took time and they made coffee and they brought these women in that were in different stages of their recovery. Some were graduates, some had just started. One of the girls this is her 5th time through.
Oh, wow.
And they show a picture of their mugshot, and it's really powerful.
Right.
And they talk about how they're learning how to take care of their kid and how to reconnect with their mom and how to be a parent,
Come back to life. Yeah.
How to take care of your body,
Yeah.
how to dress, how to might write a resume, and all these things. And we were so moved by it. And I said, how can I help this organization? And they looked at me, they said, hire our graduates.
Wow.
Because they're coming with a rap sheet. Even though they're a graduate of the program, they still have got pending drug charges or bad checks, credit card, right?
Sure.
And he says, hire our graduates. Because most big companies, what do? They run a background check on you. And they're like, no, thanks. Red flag, right? Move next person. Well, they needed small business people that believed in the program. And I have four women now that work for me that are graduates of that program. And Katie came to work for me on the bus. She had her son taken away and was living at the Lindsay House, and came on the Tulsa city bus to work, verifying insurance benefits. She now has her own apartment. She has her son back. Her son is in private school. She has a car. She's my highest paid employee. She's my right hand. It's just amazing.
I did meet her. That's the one that came into the
Yeah, sure. That's just those are the kind of people that you can get. And if you take care of those sorts of Matthew 24.
Yeah, the loyalty.
When did you gave me food when I was hungry. You gave me something when I was thirsty. You visited me in prison. All these things, right? You clothed me when I was naked. And the disciples said, why? When did we do that, Christ? And he goes, you did it to at least on my brother, and therefore you've done it unto me.
Philip, I got a little bit of goosebumps hearing that story because I really believe, one of my core values and the reason that pushes me to do a lot of things that we do is about being able to make that impact in people's lives. And I think about small businesses because I'm a small business owner, and I think about not just the impact that you have on your patients, and this is a case in point, but when you have a small business and you're hiring multiple employees and you grow your small businesses, there's an impact on your employees. You're providing a quality job, meaningful job, good place to work that helps them put food on the table and take care of their families. And then the impact that you're able to have on the community through that. And I just think that's such an amazing thing. And, I hate to go back to this whole, capitalism conversation, but I feel like some of the policies now and whether it's city or national are making it harder and harder for small businesses to have that impact. And I don't know that the corporations are able to have the same impact. And I don't know, what are you seeing in terms of policies and how that's affecting your business and the impact that you're able to have?
So it's profoundly affecting my business. I know this is not a political show, but as a small business owner, this leadership right now is the worst this country's seen in modern history.
But you're local. Your governor is
our governor is very pro business. Is very pro transparency with public schools. Tulsa Public Schools was shut down longer than any other school district in the state of Oklahoma.
For COVID. Or for
I that's what they said.
Yeah. Okay.
Right. So it was during that time.
Yeah.
My daughters started back at Victory Christian on schedule, with no problems. And I think that there was a scare, or at least the propaganda coming from Tulsa Public Schools is that minority children were more susceptible to this virus variant. I don't know if that to be true or not, but Victory has a very wide, diverse group, and we didn't have any problems. So I don't know. Maybe maybe COVID just skipped the private Christian schools.
Yeah, kind of like it skipped Texas.
Yeah, I didn't think COVID was up in Oklahoma. That's interesting. I didn't know about Tulsa.
Yeah. So anyway, but there's been a lot of policies that affect it. I mean, let's be honest. And if you have not thought about this before, if anyone's listening, think about it. I mean, who benefits when everything's shut down and people are in their house? Right? Jeff Bezos gets richer. Right? It's just the easy button. Yeah. So go home, safer at home. All of this mantra of and safer at home may be home if you have a nice home. You have a nice home.
Yeah.
You have children that love you, and you have children that you take care of, and your daughter. It's a safe place. But my wife taught public schools for 17 years. I mean, half of all domestic dispute calls come from high school counselors and
Yeah.
and school teachers.
Yeah.
And when you remove, my wife taught, and she would walk around the cafeteria at lunch break and she'd pick up oranges and apples.
Yeah.
And she had a drawer at her desk. And the first day of school, she opened up the drawer and there's Pop-Tarts, granola bars, or apples or whatever. She said, if you're ever hungry, come to this drawer. I don't care if I'm in the middle of a lecture. Don't ever be hungry. Right. Anything in this drawer, you don't ever ask me. Don't ever ask permission. Right. And these kids would Friday, they would just empty that drawer out because they didn't know when they were going to be able to eat again.
For the weekend, that might be their last meal.
Right. Right. And they had to come and sometimes share it with their siblings. But Toast Public said, we're feeding them. You can drive by and pick up a lunch.
Right.
Assuming they have a parent that's not have a job or two jobs
or vehicle
or a vehicle that works. And yeah, I mean, we saw the same thing here. I mean, it's
ridiculous.
Yeah. I don't want to go political on this conversation, but
you already have.
I'm sorry. I didn't.
No, it's okay though. No, we're allowed to do what we want.
But if you're at home and you can order your shit on Amazon, and you're not worried about your electric bill shutting off,
right?
Yeah.
Great. Kick your feet back and get on the Peloton, right? But I mean, for the rest of humanity, it's not that easy. And I mean, I lived in Central America. I've been all over Central and South America. Missions trip, medical missions trip, Chiapas, Mexico, El Salvador. I mean, I've been all of these places.
Yeah.
And some people make the money that they make that they can keep their family fed. They sell Pringles on the side of the road in Honduras.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that $4 or $5 from a tourist it makes their month.
Oh yeah.
And that all disappeared. And all the rich people,
right,
and all the 1%ers were totally fine.
Right.
You could just jump on what do you kids play?
I don't know. I don't play
video.
anything. I do this.
It's the thing. They push buttons. Yeah.
All of a sudden,
Fortnite. That's what I'm trying to say.
All of a sudden, Dan isn't talking. This is interesting.
Yeah, you guys just Fortnited through COVID.
No, I think what happened is we started talking about politics and he just went blank.
No, he started
Charlie Brown's teacher.
So,
you want me to bring it back?
Well, let's go back to business.
Thank you.
Because it has affected business.
Okay. You had talked about a little bit going into that DME side.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So how did he get involved into the DME side?
We got into the DME side. You said we're doing sleep testing.
Right.
Let's start getting into the treatment.
Right. And watching
natural progression.
Sure. Absolutely. Right.
And where do you think, which business is the easier business or the harder business or the more profitable business, or, I don't know.
Well, I think we talked about diversification.
Yeah. It's good to have.
Right.
Yeah.
So under my leadership, our two DME companies were laser focused on respiratory, right?
Yeah.
And specifically Philips respiratory line.
Yeah.
So, in June 14th of this year, under the Biden administration's FDA director recalls every American-made CPAP machine on the market. And I'm having to buy stuff from China and Singapore, and that's not a lie. That's not even a political statement. That's all it's all factual.
So if I have a patient now that, and so you've done CPAP for how many years now?
10, 11 years.
10, 11 years. You've been doing CPAPs.
CPAPs.
And this year, the recall.
The recall happens.
And so what does that do to your business? How many patients are affected that your business is helping by that recall?
Okay, all of them. Every single one of my past patients and every single one of the patients that are waiting in
purgatory. I actually have an exact number. So when I talked to Philip 2 months ago, he basically said, I have 120 patients right now.
Waiting on CPAP.
Waiting on CPAP. Waiting on because their CPAP was recalled?
No.
Or because they just got diagnosed?
Yeah, he had a sleep study last month.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just had a sleep study. I just sent you a patient. They had a sleep study. They need a CPAP. Now, do you have the competitive bid also? Do you do Medicare also with your CPAP?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And
the referrals aren't the problem.
Right.
I have more referrals than I have machines. I'm still waiting on
my
so
if I send you a patient today that needs a CPAP, how long is it going to be before they get it?
I wish I could tell you. I honestly, to be honest with you, I like to under
promise, over deliver,
right? I'm going to tell you, if you get it before Valentine's Day, you're lucky.
Oh my goodness.
Hence how we started a relationship, a business relationship.
So, I mean, oral devices have been I told you this earlier. My brother's an optometrist. He's not a huge fan of sending everybody out to get LASIK, right? He wants people to come in and get contacts and glasses, right? And that's the way I thought about with CPAPs, you know. If I get CPAPs, what am I getting? I'm getting, you know, the resupply. I'm getting that relationship. Plus, I can control it. I told you earlier, you know, I can fix a problem.
Yeah.
I can't fix a problem. If I send it to the DME X and they do a bad job, which is often common with DME companies, right?
Yep.
I can't control that.
So do you run your DME like you run your IDTF?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because if you come down to Austin and open a DME for a CPAP, assuming you can get CPAPs,
we'll be able to get them this time next year. We'll be fine.
Yeah.
I can tell you, like, why are, and I don't think this is the case with you, because obviously I've met you today, I've talked to you, and you know, I see kind of what you've done with your businesses, but notoriously, I got to tell you, DME suck, man.
Yeah, man. I know.
They are awful. They don't communicate. They don't follow up. The patients fall through the cracks. I never know if my patients are getting treated. When I send a patient for CPAP, I mean, it is just like, I might as well just be sending them off into the abyss and cross my fingers and hope.
That's the one thing that hasn't changed in 17 years, probably. It's just that.
With DME.
Right. We have our Google rating on our DME company is a 4.7 out of 5.
That's amazing.
That's almost unheard of. And it's because we can take care of all those things. Yeah. Now, do we make mistakes? Absolutely.
Yeah.
We are not perfect, but I can promise you this: if we make a mistake, I will take credit, or I'll take blame for that, because it's under my leadership that happened, and I can fix it.
You're 100% correct. Then in comes something that no one could expect. COVID, right? We'll just call it a pandemic. I won't label it anything else. And it just...
Did you say plandemic? I'm sorry. Was there an L in there? Go ahead. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Matthew.
It's okay. So however we feel about that, right after that was the recall. And the recall was real. And me having a heart and friend still with Phillips, I can remember going, oh my gosh. I didn't look at it as an opportunity at SonaMed to just be a vulture, right? I've never been that type of salesperson. But I knew that there was going to be millions and millions of apneic patients out there that needed help. How we got involved and have a relationship now is through a Phillips rep, who's our mutual friend, who's also, his wife's a musician. He runs in the same circles. And so what I loved about this idea of inviting you on the podcast was your music, your passion for sleep, and just who you are as a person and your background, but also kind of what we're kind of building right now too. And it's interesting because Brandon is a sleep dentist doctor. He understands what we're doing and what's happening in Tulsa now. And I've also already done this in South Texas, is we're able to go, okay, hey, CEO, we got to know people in town. I'll supply the sleep dentist, who's excellent, but do we know people? And I've already nicknamed this team the Dream Team because the Zellner family and you know these people. And it's basically attacking the OSA any way we can. And I'll use HSTs from it. I don't care if you get cut on, but that's how we work together. And to watch you kind of navigate that, and it was never about you making money, like what you just said earlier. It really showed something to me, Philip. Like, I was like, oh my gosh. Like, it very rarely am I around a CEO that wasn't in it for the money. And I know this for a fact. I was wondering how you were going to answer him. You don't make a lot of money on that sleep lab, dude.
No.
You don't. And you do it because of your passion.
We do pediatrics as well.
Yeah.
And we're one of the only ones that do pediatrics. And if anybody's familiar with pediatric sleep studies, require a lot of hands-on. The younger the child,
it's
the more
tough. And it's hard to find people that do pediatrics.
Right. Yeah. And a lot of pediatric patients come in is Medicaid. And let me just talk about reimbursements. Medicaid pays, I think I don't do the billing, but around $400 to $385 for a sleep study.
How much your tech cost?
So my techs get, my tech cost just for that one patient sometimes can be anywhere from $200 to $270.
And then you get it read, and the tech does the reading, or is it?
No, well, you have to get interpreted.
So I know that's my point. So finding
a quick plug for Premier and Scoring out of Dallas, Texas.
Nice.
Those guys are excellent. So if you're a sleep lab, working HSTs, primary care, internal medicine, sleep labs, Call Jacob Premier.
Whoa.
Scoring. They're
I love
awesome.
So this kind of changes our conversation now into, which I got him saying, I love it, oral device. I hate saying appliance. So the oral device world is something he's the expert in.
Mm-hmm.
And I've told you how I feel about him.
Right.
You know, he doesn't like when people say good things about him, but he actually likes it.
Yeah.
But that's what Brandon does.
Sure.
I like it if it's true.
That's fair.
Okay.
That's fair.
Yeah.
But so you're doing kind of a pivot now
Right.
into this whole oral device
Right.
world.
Well, because it's a win-win. I mean, right now we're working with Dr. Carrie Sessom out of Tulsa.
Riverwalk Dental.
Yeah. And,
Excellent.
Out of Tulsa.
Excellent.
And she's using HSTs for her patients. And I said, well, who's reading your HSTs? And she said, I don't even, some doctor, I don't know. We just kind of put it in the portal and some doctor beams down from some spreadsheet and right.
Yeah.
And I said, well, we can do your home testing and Dr. Noonan can do your reads. And she's, that would be great.
Michael Noonan is an amazing sleep doctor in Tulsa.
We're like, you're right down the street. He's right down the street. We can all work together. So that's kind of part of it is, you know, by us doing that, she's like, okay, you do all my home sleep testing. Dr. Noonan, you do all my reads. And then I'll do all your oral devices. And it's like, you do this, you do this, you do this. So we're all successful.
And it was cool how the introduction, but I love how that it's the symmetry is excellent.
And I want you to have Dr. Sessom call me because I think we can help improve some of those systems too.
Well, you told me today, because you bought our lunch.
Yeah.
And the thing you said is when you left.
When I'm in Tulsa,
you said I'm going to come to Tulsa and you can buy me lunch.
I love Tulsa. I think Tulsa's a great town.
So I'm going to hold him to that. It's written down.
We'll go up there and
and I would love to introduce you to them. So, and I shouldn't be saying all these names, but Jennifer, who is with Carrie, she is the guru.
Yeah.
They're in plan. They do. Brandon, you'd be impressed.
Yeah, just some some best practice.
Oh,
yeah, that's what I want to get at. I want to get at the best practice. I just, I want to make sure people are doing things the right way because I've been audited, by United Healthcare, by Aetna, by Medicare, and when you're messing with medical insurance, you just want to make sure all your T's are crossed and your I's are dotted.
I would love to have you come up, man. Yeah. Last time I stayed at the
Hard
Rock.
That was fun. Lunch.
Yes.
I'm afraid it's going to be expensive lunch.
Yeah, I don't even you'll have to tell me the nicest place in Tulsa. We'll go
I just told you. Yeah. I love, that isn't the nicest, but I like the Hard Rock.
Yeah,
it's kind of fun.
It's a nice place.
All right.
Speaking of Hard Rock, I know you're a musician, and so I like to prep for our interviews. I was watching your videos on YouTube. And I got a kick out of it because I'm getting to know you a little bit now and kind of how serious you are. And so you have a video out there where you're riding a horse.
Tightrope, baby.
The song is so awesome. But we had Mark Broussard as our first guest. And my first ex-wife, like I say that, took their shot, like their band shot. And I still to this day think it's cool. And Mark looked at it and went, oh my gosh.
20 years old.
Be honest, when you watch the Tightrope video, seeing you on that horse, man, in slow mo,
it's been a while since I've seen it.
It's such a great. Do you look at? Watch that video.
How old's the video?
8 years. 8 years.
Yeah,
8 years ago.
Yeah.
If I can find it, I'll put it in.
Okay.
I'll put a clip in.
And just
Sounds
get the
worth
shot.
it.
Get the shot where it's a screen, and then you see him coming in on the horse. It's just. I'm sorry.
God.
And y'all are in a field.
That's
it's
great.
Just great song.
Great. Thanks. I'm so glad that you brought that one up.
So my transition is, man, you're a good musician. Originally I wanted to have a keyboard here because you're amazing, and you guys can look up his music. I love your sound. I just like it. But Brandon has a guitar here, and we're going to
use that term loosely.
We're going to use it loosely.
Yeah.
Would you mind playing us a song?
I'll play some.
Oh, thank you. Do you stay right there? Handsome Dan will hand you what you need.
I think I can reach it.
Oh.
You can reach it. There you go.
All right. Are we good?
Still going to.
Probably still awkward.
Our mic's still on. Can we?
You want to use that one?
Yeah.
Our mic's still. Are we?
Try to stay close to that because this will
Override.
Okay.
We could test it out. I mean, it's all good. How's it sound?
I won't know until it starts singing.
Are we still rolling or just?
We don't
always
stop.
rolls.
He just edits.
Good. Okay.
Won't stop.
All right.
Can't stop, won't stop.
Wow, that was a little rude. I think it sounds great.
Yeah.
All right,
I got a funny story about that. Well, I don't know that I can tell it on
Please
podcast, but okay.
He's gonna cut our mics once you get started.
Okay.
So
this is a song called "You Were the One That Got Away."
You were the one that got away. I was the one that couldn't make my mind from getting tangled in the mess that I created. You were the one that got away. I see your face now and again in the flash of a camera phone. So carefree, so alive, in the flash of a camera phone. You were the one that got away. So keep me in your memory. I know there's no room left for me anymore. We laid awake at night, staring at the sky, making plans for the future and what the light of day might bring. You were the one that got away. So keep me in your memory. I know there's no room left for me anymore. Whoa.
when did you write that one? Is my mic on, brother? When did you write that one?
That came out on you were talking about Casey Cobb, our friend.
Yes,
and,
love Casey.
So we recorded that record back in 2013.
Okay.
So I bought an old house that's 100 years old, and it's got really it has latham plaster, like the old plaster that has horsehair in it.
Yeah.
Plaster.
Wow.
The walls and all wood floors and this huge banister staircase and a full basement. It was owned by a wealthy publisher 100 years ago. And it felt like it was the greatest place to make a record. So we, Casey Cobb brought his mobile recording unit in, and then our producer came down from Chicago, and I kicked the wife and kids out, flew them to Houston to go see my brother-in-law. And we took over the house for a week, and all the band stayed there and the producer stayed there. And we made this double album.
That's so cool.
So
man.
it was
That's
done.
really cool.
A lot of it was done live. All the keys are from my pianos that I would write from.
Yeah.
So it was really a cool experience. I don't know if you've ever heard Casey talk about it, but it's like one of the highlights of our musical pathway was just us living together, making music together, and food catered in, and it was great.
Now, you mentioned songwriting being more of where your focus was and the passion for you, but also that you're a little unique in how you come up with your songs or how you write your songs. Tell us how you do that.
So honestly, the iPhone is what changed that, because I had an instant tape recorder in my pocket. Like, do we need to talk about tape recorders again? It's a cassette tape. But I mean, I remember just coming up with songs all the time, but not having the technology to be able to record it on the fly.
Nice.
And honestly, it was the introduction of the iPhone. All of a sudden, I had this ability to record something right away when I thought about it, and which was great. And I told you that we have our own studio, so my band and I are really, really active, even though not publicly active. So we get together and into our studio, which is always ready to go. It has a PA system in there, has my Nord piano. I've got a 70s Pearl kit, Ampeg bass rig. I'm sponsored by Supro. I've got an endorsement deal with Supro amps, guitar amps. So, and I've got 2 Telecasters and 3 Rickenbackers. And anyways.
Do you want to give the address?
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody can just go.
Right. So we've got our own place then, and it's always ready to go. So it's our creative space. So when we get together, we'll eat together, and we'll just put a case of beer in the middle of the room, and just we don't do cover songs. Not that we have anything against them. Live, we'll play a few Tom Petty or Beatles songs or something, but we don't get in there and, like no one does a Pearl Jam lick or whatever. And we'll sit around and talk, and somebody will come up with a chord or a lick. And when we record, mostly I'm on the piano because I've got great guitar players. Why do I need to play guitar? And so I'm mostly at the piano or organ or synthesizer, and we'll just come up with something. So we'll talk about it for a couple of minutes, and maybe someone will come up with something, and I'll just take my iPhone out and hit record. And what's amazing to me is at the end of the recording, you can hear me talk into my iPhone what chords we just played, because I don't even remember, even through the song, what chords we were playing. And sometimes the lyrics just come to me. Sometimes I'm kind of mumbling and just maybe singing a melody.
Yeah, apricot.
Right. But oftentimes the songs will just literally just land in the middle of the room, and we just absorb them together collectively. And what's crazy is how close they sound to whenever I take them to the producer and I go, we wrote this one, what do you think? And he puts us in the live room. Yeah. Because he's like, well, just do that again. And I'll just run it with all the expensive shit going. That's so cool. Our last record was produced by Dwight Hamlin. You know Dwight, Classen Recorders in Oklahoma City, which again, great pitch. Like one of the, probably one of the most sought after producers in Oklahoma or Texas music right now.
Great band too.
And White Lighters is incredible. He's so humble, and I appreciate that because he doesn't need to be, especially around someone like me. But he just put us in the live room and just had us run the songs, threw us a click in the air, which we already had the metronome times written out. And we're all getting the clicks, and he had me sit in front of the piano and just gave me a scratch voc and just had me just direct like I direct. And on that record, on our last record called The Flight, 100% of the drums and 99.9% of the bass, half of the guitar solos, half of the rhythm guitar was all put down live.
Oh, wow.
And if you're not a studio guy or musician, most of the times you play something and you layer it. Like you play against the guitar, you play against this, you get the fiddle player in, he'll do his fiddle parts, right? It's all very compartmentalized. But there's something about playing live
together.
Yeah, there's nothing like it. I mean, we talked about I was with Mark Walgreen yesterday with Respircardia, and I said, with this whole issue that we've had with this virus, Zoom calls have been the thing. Right. I don't. If I never Zoomed again, I'd be okay.
I'm with you on
there's
that.
Nothing. Yeah. There's not like we've never met before until today, but we shared a meal together, and I feel like we're 10 years into a relationship that we would have started on Zoom, right? Like, there's nothing replaces that. Yeah. And the same thing with music. There's nothing that replaces that. When you have your brothers in the room together and making music, it's pretty special.
Yeah. When we started talking about the podcast and we talked about
hard rule,
what's going on and all the Zoom stuff that's happening and so many podcasts going to Zoom. And I just straight up was like, no, we're not.
Hard rule.
That's like, no, we're not. We got to be here. We got to be together because I don't think you can duplicate it. Right. I don't think you can get us authentic. So,
yeah, I mean, we've had some really amazing people that want to be part of the podcast, but they're like, okay, then, can we just set it up to when I call in or, screen in? And that's a hard no for us. Yeah. I mean, that's one of ours where we want to do this,
Man, this is, I hate to cut this short, but we're running up on time.
Okay. Yeah.
And, but I mean, this has just been great. We're going to have you back sometime. Awesome, this has been a fantastic conversation. I can't wait to talk to you more about the business in Tulsa.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to come up and visit.
Good.
I'd love to talk to you more about maybe if you are interested in expanding what this market might look for you, because we need a good DME, man.
Right. Well, I kind of feel like I told you, it's like, I feel like maybe this is a time that we double down. Like when people are retracting from the DME business, it's like the people that are good at it, people that can do it, like let's press forward.
Yeah.
And prayerfully, once we get product in, man, I can beat the nationals if I can have stuff more.
Well, the cream always rises to the top, and I think the service and the customer service level and the product that you deliver if you deliver a good product and you have the good service, it's always going to win out.
And kind of to wrap this up, Philip, thank you for your time. First of all, if there has ever been anybody that was like the perfect person to be our guest, right? Our passions were, everything you just named. Handsome Dan shaking his head. I mean, you're a CEO of Sleep. You're an amazing musician, brother.
Yeah.
You've mentioned libations 100 times. The only thing that I have an issue with is you liking soccer.
Yeah.
And you keep calling it football.
Yeah.
That's why
I'm kidding.
Well, in Texas, we don't say the word soccer without following it with the word sucks.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I mentioned him earlier.
That's why
went
God
to the same
grace.
school you did.
Yeah.
Joey Hinkle was one of my best friends. Retired Jersey, played soccer for a long time. I do respect the athletes. Yeah. The flopping thing we could talk about.
We'll have a whole nother podcast.
And I will end on this. I will end on this last story. So I met you years ago. We were trying to decide when it was when you were playing keys with Cross Canadian Ragweed. So I end up getting back in touch with you through Casey, and you're like, man, meet me here. I won't plug the place. Meet me here. And I'm like, oh man, I can't wait.
Strip club.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't. It was worse. Or it was worse. It was a soccer bar.
Strip club.
So I walk in, and I've never been to one of these guys. You literally walk in this bar, and it's a football bar. It's a soccer. How do you say it correctly?
Mirar partidos de fútbol.
And watch this. He tells the best story, and I'll just make it quick. Someone like my dummy comes walking in and looks around. Well, I was looking for him and his business partner, Lance, and so we had a good time, and you explained the bar to me. Mm-hmm. But when people walk in there, they don't understand that everybody speaks Spanish.
Yep.
Everybody is it was a cool experience, brother.
Yeah, I think somebody was complaining that the match was on Spanish.
Yeah, they're like, well, that's on Spanish, and he's like, everybody
speaks Spanish,
and they go, you too? He goes,
yeah.
But in all seriousness, man, thank you for your time, brother.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's keep.
I love what you're doing.
Let's do this again for sure.
Yeah. Is there anything you want to plug before we get out of here?
No, just love each other. Take care of yourself.
All right. We're going to have your information on YouTube. Handsome Dan does an amazing job of that. Please like and subscribe, guys, on our YouTube channel. Also with our iTunes and our Spotify, go check it out.
Cheers.
Handsome Dan's does a great job at all of our social media. So I definitely want to give you props. You've done an amazing job, brother. And cheers, man. Thank you for sleeping around with Dr. Brandon and Matthew, Philip.
Cheers,
you're the man.
Cheers.
Man, I was in.
I had exactly one sip left.
I had one half of a sip. I was in.
Did you have to one-up them?
Costa Rica. I was in Costa Rica just for vacation a couple years ago during the World Cup, and I'm walking to the golf course at 6:30 in the morning, and it was World Cup, so it was in Russia or whatever. Was it in Russia? I think. Yeah.
Yes, it was.
And Costa Rica was playing Brazil, and it was like the second half of the football game at 6 in the morning.
He said football game.
And
you did.
That's what it was.
I thank you.
Yeah, no.
Thank you.
I'm here for you, man. I'm here for you.
Thank you.
And literally the bar was packed at 6 in the morning.
Oh no.
People going nuts. I'm walking to the golf course. I'm like, what the hell's going on over there? Like, oh, the soccer game's on, World Cup, Costa Rica, Brazil. I think they lost 2-0, but it was the most amazing thing to see. And it's like the fans are just crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think more people have died in live soccer matches than any other sport.
I think you're right. I think I've heard that same stat somewhere.
Than any other sport out there. Like,
Well, yeah, but first of all, you got to do per capita.
Well,
because every country in the world has like 5. I mean,
but
the city of Madrid has got like 30 professional football clubs.
Here's the other thing: everybody in the world
plays football
except North America.
Well,
we are the NFL, but
interestingly enough, that is certainly the case.